Welcome to the RAD Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Dugan, here to introduce Ava and Max, our AI-driven hosts who have absolutely described RAD Potential's business perfectly. If you are interested in learning more about RAD Potential and what we do, then don't miss this episode where we dive deep into the conversation on hiring top-performing sales talent through data and insight.
All right, so you're here with us because you get it, a great sales team. You know, that's what drives business growth.
That's the engine.
It really is. But figuring out who's going to be a top performer before you even hire them, that can feel, well, it can feel like just throwing darts, you know, a total guessing game.
Absolutely. It can be overwhelming.
Overwhelming is the word.
Yeah.
So think of this as your like fast track, you know, cutting through the noise to really get a handle on this whole thing.
Okay, I like that.
So today we're diving deep into how pre-employment testing is shaking things up in sales hiring. And we're going to be zeroing in specifically on a company called RAD Potential Advisory, Inc.
And we've got some really interesting material that gives us a pretty clear picture of what they're all about and the services they offer.
Right. And what we really want to do in this deep dive is pull out those key ideas, those core principles that RAD Potential is built on, and give you a sense of how this whole data-driven approach, you know, can totally transform how you build your sales team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, forget just filling those empty seats.
Right.
Let's talk about building a team with real skill.
Skilled selections. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So let's get started with, I guess, the fundamental question. What's the big problem that RAD Potential is trying to solve here?
Yeah.
You know, what are they addressing?
At the heart of it, they're tackling this issue that's been around forever. You know, can you really accurately predict who's going to kill it in a sales role just based on those traditional hiring methods? I mean, think about it. It resumes interviews, they give you a story, but do they tell you the whole story about someone's actual abilities, you know, those inherent skills in the way they work that really translate to hitting those sales targets?
It's funny you say that. I was just thinking, it's kind of like judging a race car driver based on their mechanic skills. You know, on paper.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, on paper look good, but...
And that's a big difference with RAD Potential, right? They're not out there recruiting candidates for you like a headhunting firm.
Right. They're not handing you a stack of resumes.
No, they're all about making that selection process way more precise and effective.
Got it. So they're coming in after you've got that pool of candidates.
Right.
And giving you the tools to help you choose.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do they do that? What's their main approach? Their secret weapons, so to speak?
Okay, so their core offering revolves around this thing called the SalesDNA Predictor. And their whole methodology is built on data, you know, evidence-based decision-making.
I'm sensing a theme here. Data.
Oh, yeah, big time. And what's super interesting is these assessments, they're not just cookie cutter, you know, one size fits all.
Yeah, that would be a little too simple, wouldn't it? I mean, everybody's different.
Right. Well, that's the thing. They actually tailor these assessments by studying a company's top performing salespeople. So like they figure out what makes the best people tick.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And then use that to build a benchmark, you know, identifying those core skill traits, even motivations that are already driving success in that specific company.
So it's custom built for each organization.
Exactly. Their logic is, let's figure out scientifically what makes your A player so good, and then let's find more people just like them.
More of those A players. Yep. Yes, please. All right. So we've got this assessment tool, but there's got to be more to it, right? What are some of the key advantages or features that RAD Potential really highlights?
Well, a big one is that ability to create those hiring benchmarks we talked about.
Right.
They work hand in hand with their clients to define what quality actually means for their sales roles. So it's not just some vague idea of a good salesperson. It's about figuring out the specific stuff that actually predicts success, you know, within that company's culture, their sales environment.
Makes sense. I mean, what makes a top performer at, you know, a fast-growing tech startup is probably pretty different from what you need in a, you know, a big established financial firm.
Totally. And to make sure those benchmarks and their assessments stay accurate and effective over time, they really stress the importance of doing these annual validation studies.
Okay, annual validation studies. So let's unpack that a bit. Why is that such a big deal?
Yeah. Well, this is all about proving their system actually works, you know, providing those measurable results. So they're showing that their assessments actually do what they're supposed to do, which is predict how well someone will perform on the job and how long they'll stick around.
So it's about accountability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's giving those clients proof that using their assessments leads to better hires and less turnover. Think of it like making sure a scientific instrument is still calibrated, you know, giving you accurate readings.
So it's not just a feeling.
Yeah,
It's not just, oh, I feel good about this hire. It's, I have the data to back it up.
you got it. And to make sure clients can really understand all that data, they offer an extra layer of support.
You're talking about their debriefing services, right?
Yeah, that's it. So they've got this service where their experts walk clients through those assessment results, which is really helpful when you've got a bunch of candidates and you need a professional to help you make sense of it all, so you can make that final decision with more confidence.
Right.
I see. So they're not just giving you the tools, they're helping you use them effectively.
Right.
Now, I'm always a sucker for a good testimonial, hearing from people who've actually used the service. So we've got a few of those in our materials.
Right.
What really jumped out at you?
Yeah, the testimonials are great because they show how the stuff plays out in the real world,
Right.
Like Pearl Rebelos from Great Way Financial, she talks about how RA Potential has made their agent screening process so much better, and it's given their sales leaders the info they need to make smarter hiring decisions.
Uh-huh.
She even talks about how it helps them find those candidates with that drive and resilience.
Yeah.
The stuff that's crucial for making it in sales, and she calls it a vital asset.
Yeah, that drive and resilience, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Sales can be tough. You need people who can bounce back from rejection.
For sure, for sure. And then there's Greg Minette from Guardian Life of the Caribbean Limited. He talks about how satisfied they've been, and they've been working with RADA Potential for like 6 years, focused on constantly improving their company. And that long-term relationship says a lot, about the value they're getting.
Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah.
That's a testament right there.
Mm.
What about American National Insurance Company? What were their key takeaways?
So James Kalura, he really highlights the expertise of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Dugan sounds like a key player at RAD Potential, and his ability to break down what makes a great salesperson and then translate that into stuff that hiring managers can actually use,
Mm-hmm.
And he says something really powerful. He says that Robert has changed the face of simple recruiting to skilled selection. And I think that sums up what RAD Potential is all about.
Skilled selection. Yeah, that's so much more strategic than just trying to fill a spot.
Definitely, it's about being intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Sean Smith from Desjardins Financial Security Independent Network. And he mentions that RAD Potential came in at a really critical point for their team, like a turning point. And he says they provided the right medicine to get them moving in the right direction. So it sounds like they had a big impact on their team's performance and overall direction.
So it's not just a one-time assessment. It's like they're becoming a partner in building a better sales team.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And what about Serenia Life? What stood out from their experience?
Yeah, what do they highlight?
So Dwayne Zapatelli at Serenia Life, he talks about their partnership, which has been going on for over 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and how they've developed these repeatable, consistent systems, not just for hiring, but for coaching advisors as well. And he wraps it up with his processes work, which is a pretty strong endorsement.
So we're seeing a pattern here. Better candidate selection, smarter hiring decisions, and a positive impact that lasts, that's not just a quick fix. So beyond the SalesDNA Predictor,
Mm-hmm.
what else does RAD Potential offer or emphasize, in their bigger picture approach?
Well, they talk a lot about analyzing recruitment data to help companies keep those top performers they've already got. So it's not just about hiring, it's about holding on to your best people.
Retention, that's key.
And they talk about training teams to use their assessments the right way so they get the most out of them.
So it's not just about finding the right people. It's about giving your existing teams the tools to perform at their best.
Yeah, exactly. And they also mention bridging AI and evidence-based hiring,
Oh, interesting.
which tells me they're thinking ahead, exploring how tech can make their data-driven methods even better.
So they're positioning themselves as leaders in this whole scientific approach to building a killer sales team.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say someone listening is thinking, hey, this could really help my company. How do they get in touch with RAD Potential?
So RAD Potential Advisory, Inc., they're based in Mississauga, Ontario, and their email is service@radpotential.com.
Straightforward and easy to reach. And just to recap their main value proposition, what's the core result that RAD Potential helps organizations achieve?
Their goal is to help companies hire people with precision, using a data-driven, evidence-based approach. And they make it clear that they're a licensed distributor of psychometric products and services. So, they're the experts in assessments.
Okay, so to wrap things up for you, our listener, the key takeaways from this deep dive into RAD Potential are?
Well, basically, they're offering a structured, data-driven alternative to the old way of doing sales hiring. They use customized assessments built on what makes your top performers tick to help you find those candidates with the potential to really shine. And they're committed to making sure their tools are effective and easy to use, with those annual validation studies and expert debriefing services.
It's about getting it right.
Right. And their ultimate goal is to help you hire, better predict future sales success, and build stronger, more resilient sales teams, across your whole organization.
And on that note, we've been talking about how data can help you pinpoint that raw potential in sales. But what if you took that same rigorous approach to hiring across your whole business?
Interesting.
What if you could get that same level of precision and insight when you're building teams in marketing operations, product development? I mean, think about it. What if you could move beyond gut feelings and really understand the DNA of high performance in any role? That's something to think about long after this deep dive ends.
Definitely a powerful idea.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
See you later.